Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and
I'm Sweet Baby James, and pleased to see you tonight. Hope you enjoy the show.
yeah, I do too. And we kind of messed up on the camera. Oh well, there it is. Tonight I want to talk about the soul and the ego. Are you a nut, avocado, potato, or what? And I can't fix the title, so we'll have to keep it the way it is. But before I get into this really fascinating topic, and it is fascinating, and I want to tell you that it came out of our show last week when I said our biggest inner conflict is between the soul and the ego. So I want to talk about that, not just today, but also on Wednesday, different aspects of it. But before we do that, I'd like to have Sweet Baby James introduce you to our show.
Well, it sounds very mysterious, Granny. And this is Granny Rocks Our World, after all.
I know.
Poor
Jim, I was asking him for the props, and he said, "What is this about?"
Yeah, and I provided the potato. Well, I shouldn't say what they are.
No, we've already said it.
Avocado.
A nut, avocado, potato, or.
Well, I think I know which one I am. Anyway, you can be guessing which one you might identify with the most. And we air every Monday and Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. And
Pacific time.
What's that? Pacific time. Pacific time. And we have a chance to listen to Granny share her wisdom, her wit, and her uncommon sense. So now take it away, Granny.
So I think that you are fooling yourself about what the nut, the avocado, the potato, or is about. I know that we all, think, oh, I'm a nut or I'm a mashed potato, but it's nothing like that. So you're going to have to listen to find out what the show is about. So, First of all, I want to say that I just want to give a few little definitions, nothing too big, right? But we'll say that the soul is our inner being. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It's just like I'm using the word soul for the inner being, something intrinsic, something inside us. And there's a hi from Todd.
Hi.
Hi, Todd. Now, on the other hand, the ego is officially the awareness of our individual existence. In other words, we pop out of the womb and say, oh, where am I? I'm no longer like in my mother's womb. I'm an individual now. And suddenly I've got to start fending for myself. And so I think the easiest way to think of the ego is to understand it as our survival instinct in action.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. But it starts with, it's our awareness of our individual's existence, but immediately our survival instinct comes up. So it is a construct. That means we create this ego and we give it a job. We create something to protect ourselves because we feel so helpless, right? We're sitting there, we're
gotta be fed.
Well, yeah, we gotta, be changed, and we're cold and all that stuff. Okay, now the ego and the soul can conflict and usually do. In fact, I would say they typically conflict a lot. For example, let's say your soul is a musician. You just like sensitive and you want to be riffing and all of that stuff. But your ego, which is your survival instinct, which has been fed by your family and the society, says, what do you mean? You should go to law school. You don't want to be a musician, do you? I mean, that's downright stupid, right? So let's say the soul. Oh, Debbie. Hi, James and Beth. Great topic. So glad I'm off work tonight so I can watch. I can't believe it, Debbie.
Happy holiday.
Oh, my God.
We got a holiday.
Oh, yes. Wonderful. So you can watch and you can participate, and I'm so glad. Okay, so let's say my soul wants me to be comfortable, like, oh, I just want to be curled up in myself. But my ego says that I have to be important, because if I'm important, then people will start doing things for me or giving me things. So you see, the instinct to survive starts out with feed me, change me, I'm cold, and then it gets more and more complicated as we begin to learn the rules of the road. Oh, Ilan, hello, she says, and hello
Hello
back.
back.
So glad that you came back. I love it. So anyway, see what happens is the ego starts getting fed, and I don't want to go too much into that today because I have the nut, the avocado, and the potato to go through, and there's a lot to talk about tonight. So I'm going to talk about this more than just tonight. But you see, the ego learns different ways of protecting us or getting what we need, depending on what our parents are like and how we figure out how to manipulate the people around us, or the nuns in the orphanage, or the foster parents, or anybody who happens to be the grandparents, anybody who's there to take care of us. We have to figure it out. So you see, the ego is always calculating, whereas the soul is going, goo goo gaga, I want to be a musician, or, oh, it's spring, let's go out and play. So there's a lot of conflict between those two, believe me. But today, I want to focus on the relationship between the two. And are we ever going to bring the ego and the soul together as one? And I have an interesting answer to that, because it doesn't look like on the surface that's ever going to happen, right? So even though there's tons of conflict between the ego and the soul, and unfortunately, the ego usually wins. It doesn't have to be that way. They can be friends. In fact, they can be one. And I'm going to show you how, when we get rid of all the vegetables and the fruits and all that. We'll get through all of that. So the ego is born and says, I got to take care of me, number one, right? And the ego starts to express itself through manipulating the universe to meet my needs. And if it succeeds, the ego and I both think that the ego is pretty terrific. I mean, it's taking care. Hey, the ego learns, oh, this works. This form of manipulation works best. Let's keep doing that over and over. And, sometimes the ego isn't getting it right, or maybe that worked with this one, but mommy died and a stepmother comes in and she isn't manipulated by the same things that the mommy was. And then the ego has to learn new strategies, and it can get very, very confusing, but it's always strategizing, you see. But if the ego succeeds at all, we begin to think that it is the savior. It is what is going to help us to get by in the world, and we start feeding it. It's like, whoa, let's have more of that, right? Especially if it's rewarded directly by parents, teachers, peers, life experiences. It begins to feel really powerful, like, oh, you're the cutest kid in the class, and therefore you're going to get this or that reward. Everybody's going to like you, or you're the tallest, or you play basketball, or you're smart, or whatever it is. So now where everybody's feeding that, okay, you should be that way. And you say, okay, that's the way I should be, right? It doesn't matter what the soul is feeling or wanting at that moment. It's just, who cares? Because it's not part of our survival. And then the ego, when it starts beginning to think how terrific it is, and you see this as kids grow up, they're so transparent, aren't they? But so are we, it's embarrassing to say. The ego can actually start to make us feel like we're weak or stupid. Oh, you want to be a musician or read books or, I don't know, pick, or pick flowers. I mean, that's only for sissies or girls or whatever. And if you're a girl, maybe you want to make a revolution, and everybody tells you that you're supposed to be a mother. Then it says, oh, what's wrong with you? Maybe you're gay, God knows. So our egos often tell us, Todd said the video stopped playing for him. Anyone else having trouble, please let me know. But we did get your message, Todd.
Could somebody else send a message? Are you receiving us?
Right. Let us know if anybody else is or isn't having a problem. I don't know why. But anyway, now, our inner urges are considered weaknesses. Okay, so Ilan obviously is not having problems. She said, get out and go back in again. So it seems to be on your side, Todd, thank God. Okay, so now, no matter how much the ego struts around, the ego is our survival instinct taking over. it is no longer serving us. We are serving it. It's telling us what to do. It's saying, you should be this way. You should be that way. You should smile more. You should smile less, and so on. So now we're going to get to the fun part where I ask you whether you are a nut, an avocado, or a potato. Uh-oh, Sherry is having a problem too. Oh, no. You know, Facebook is very flaky.
Debbie says, I can see and hear you, but not seeing any post. We don't have a post yet.
We don't have a post yet. So, but thank God you're seeing us, right?
And hearing.
And hearing us. So that's good. Thank you, everybody.
Elon
said,
says,
I'm good.
Sherry says,
dominating.
Ooh.
I think she's talking about the ego.
Yeah.
The ego is beginning to dominate us. Now,
Yes.
Helen is here. Hi, Helen. Okay, now, what does your ego look like? And what is its relationship to your soul depends on the circumstances of your life. Boyk says, always healthy and continue music. Good. Go for that. Okay, now, if you grow up in an environment where you have to fight everything and everybody in order to survive, as many people do, you are going to become a walnut. And Todd is saying he's back. It's working again. Sherry said yes. I don't know whether it was to being back or to what I'm saying. All right. So you know what a walnut is like? Here we have a walnut, but we didn't have a walnut in the shell. The walnut is in the shell. Let's say that the walnut itself is the inner being, is the soul, but the shell is the ego. That's what you're going to see. That's what it's showing. It's like, I'm tough. I'm this. Oh, Sunny says, hello, dear. Hello, Sunny.
Hello,
it's so good to
Sunny.
see you. I think you may enjoy this because I'm talking about the ego and the soul. So here I am. I'm a walnut, but I'm surrounded by a shell. Now, how the heck are you going to get to that walnut? Well, you have to get a nutcracker or
Nutcracker,
something.
yeah.
You're not going to just
Got to
see.
crack through that
You don't
hard
even know
shell.
what's in there. You have to crack through the hard shell. Sunny says your music is very beautiful. Thank you. But I hope you enjoyed this too. Ilan says the ego makes us think what we believe is the truth, but it may not be the truth at all, exactly how true it is. But now I'm trying to explain why some of us have a huge shell around us. Let's say we were in a dangerous neighborhood, or we had a lot of violence in our house, or there was a lot of poverty and we were taught to compete with each other and our siblings in order to get what we need, or there was violence or whatever. We have got to protect ourselves. So we become walnuts, and it becomes so difficult to ever crack through to the inner being. Yes, what we believe is the truth. Okay, the ego makes us think what we believe is the truth, but it may not be the truth. That's very true. Okay, so now we've got the walnut, right? Sherry says,
look.
Oh, Frank says, oh, today
Today's
is
your
my
birthday.
birthday. I'm
Happy birthday, Franklin.
We're happy to
Thanks
see
for
you
coming
too.
and
I
sharing
think
with
he's
us during
from
this time.
outside the United States.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming. And happy cumpleaños.
And look at what Sherry says.
I'm a nut in a half shell. I love that, but there's only a half a shell. That's better than being a nut in a full shell. So does everybody get the idea that you've got to look tough if you've been brought up in a very threatening situation? It's tough, tough, tough. Now, supposing you grew up in a household that was not that threatening. I mean, that you weren't worried about getting shot when you walked out the door, although now everybody's feeling the fear of getting shot, right? Or there was more understanding in the house, but you were still being pressured, like, oh, mom wants you to be a beautician and you want to be, a rocket scientist. So that's if you're a woman, of course. And Sherry says yes. So now what happens then is you become more like an avocado, because now here we go, avocado, right? The avocado has a soft shell and all the goodies are inside, right? but you can get through it with a knife. You don't need to come out with a hammer and a chisel in order to get through to the avocado. And the avocado can be very nurturing, right? So the avocado still has a thick skin, but you can get to it much easier. And you see people who've been traumatized, it can be extremely difficult for them to open up. But somebody who's raised to be the avocado, see, however, is still having a facade, a face, right? So the avocado is not showing what's inside, but it's telling you what's on the outside. Hey, so that's what we do when we grow up in a way where we have to control the way we look to others. So, for instance, that would be any kind of person who needs support in showing who they are. Maybe you're working in an office, or you're, hanging out with others, and you talk to them, but you need that support to expose yourself. Or maybe you're in therapy, but it takes a lot for you to say anything about what's going on with you, right? I hope you guys are trying to figure out who you are. Now, the next kind of personality I want to talk about, and there are so many in between, is a potato. A potato, you see, you can eat the whole darn thing. You can cook the whole thing. So you say, oh, that's a potato. You can eat this whole thing. Now, this is somebody who is very transparent compared to other people. Somebody who's right on the surface, like this potato doesn't have much on the outside. And, no matter what kind of potato you are, the skin is delicious. And so you are much more accessible. Well, that would be somebody who was brought up in an environment where they felt much safer, where they could afford to be a potato, where they are almost the same on the outside as they are on the inside, but not quite. Okay, now, time is fleeting. Here we go. The or is what I am aiming for, and that I want to talk about when we talk about the relationship between the soul and the ego. You understand that the outside is the ego and the soul is what's on the inside. So the inside of the avocado is the soul, and the skin is the outside that we're showing to people. And the shell of the walnut is the ego, which is prancing around trying to look tough. Whereas the potato, it's just, the outside, the inside, they're so connected, you know what I mean? That's the ego now, much more transparent. Now, the ultimate goal is to be one, and even the potato is not one because it still has a skin. So, what is that? Regard. Water. Now, somebody is going to tell me that I have no scientific knowledge, and I don't. So I'm probably an idiot. But I don't see a difference between the inside of the water and the outside of the water. Do you?
No.
No. I mean, the water is the water. It's inside. It's outside. It's all of the above. Boyd said avocado is very good in consumption, can strengthen the heart, and many other benefits. You are so right. And so is water. Water is 70% of the earth. Is water, and so much of our bodies is made of water. But the thing about the water is there's no difference between the ego and the soul. See, it's all one. And unless you are in a very unusual situation, you are not going to have one molecule of water. Usually, water is going to be a drop at least. So that except in very exotic situations, right, water is collective. Oh, right?
Yeah.
What does that tell you? All right, now, water
a collection of drops is a body of water. Is a body of water.
And we are connected because we are all, when we become truly connected between the soul and the ego, we feel our oneness. There's no pretense with water. I mean, it's throughout. It's water. When you see water, you know what you got, unless somebody's sticking ink in the water, and that's another story. Okay. Now, water can take many forms, from the gentle rain, right, to the devastating floods that people are suffering through right now, to a cup of coffee, to a brook, to a river, to an ocean. So So water tends to be collective, and yet it takes many forms and it flows, right? Isn't that amazing? So now this is a real threat to the ego because the ego has been in charge, telling us that we're stupid, right? The ego thinks it's hot stuff, but the truth is no one can compare to the power of water, because water is collective. The river can cut through mountains and granite. There is no single creature. I don't care if you're a lion or a whale or a president. There's no single creature more powerful than the ocean. Now, the collective of humanity can and has polluted the water. Donna said, hello, you two, good subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Hello, hello.
So it is true that the collective of humanity has polluted the ocean, but that isn't not one person. I mean, you could stand there and piss in the water forever and you would never pollute the ocean, not by yourself, right? So now the ego wants to control, and we've been taught to do it through manipulating. I manipulate you and so on. But all powerful movements came through the collective action. Now, in the United States, today is Labor Day, and this is a day that we are supposed to be honoring the labor movement. And the labor movement was a collective movement of workers, bringing us the 8-hour day, weekends, a lot of benefits. That came from a movement. See, it didn't come from one person. There wasn't one drop of water. And so this is what I want to leave you with, because I'm running out of time, is that social movements make change. And that includes, they change us. And when the ego figures it out, that the real power is in the collective instead of in the I, me, for myself, that's where the power comes from. That we together can change the world to meet the needs of people and animals and the earth, that we can do this together. The ego can say, I am no longer going to rely on my ego. Helen says they say 60% of people support unions, but that union membership is declining. Yes, because we have forgotten so many of the lessons, and we are so taught in our society to be all about me and me and me and me. But the soul and the ego, Ilan said, I love what you were saying. Thank you. The soul and the ego will become one when the ego realizes that the greatest power is in our collective power. And it stops trying to run the show, but comes together with other souls, with all our souls coming together for the highest good.
Feeling the connection with one another, being in the oneness with one another.
Yes, becoming the water. So I will pick up more on this Wednesday, but I wanted to put this out today, and I want you to think about who you are, a nut, an avocado, or a potato, or
higher.
I don't believe there is anybody on the planet yet who is water. Because I don't believe we have an environment that has allowed us to be so relaxed that we can just flow. Ilan says, I feel you. Thank you, honey. Thank you. But that doesn't mean we can't. So Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time is our next live stream of Grow, where I believe I will be continuing to talk about the ego in some way or other.
And the soul.
And the soul, very much so. And I'd like you to be thinking about this. And on Thursdays, we broadcast Dreams of Peace, where I play the piano and the water washes through me to you.
Yeah.
We also have a discussion group on Wednesday nights called Growth, which I actually lead, that you can join if you want to get deeper into how this works for you. And while there is a charge for that, the first one is free, and all the information is on our post. So Elon says, love to you, and love to you, and love to all our souls that are struggling to come out from behind our shells, our thick skins, even our thin ones. Yes.
God bless you.
Until then,
Bye for now.
thank you for coming.